Hello, and welcome to Bell to Bell, an educational program created, directed, and produced by the Chicopee Public Schools in conjunction with the Telecommunications Department housed here at Chicopee Comprehensive High School. This is episode 4 of season 5, and we're going to take a slight departure this time around from what our shows normally have featured, which have been very heavily on content area and student activities during the school day. For those of you who don't know me, I have always been a big believer and a lover of the arts. And as superintendent, I believe that arts education is a strong foundation for creating a well-rounded student. And whether or not they decide to proceed with different types of art skills in their career, or whether they plan to major in those things in college or not, they are skills that are developed and last with the students for a lifetime. So we're going to start off our program today by taking a look at the visual arts programs taking place in 3 different schools across our district. So let's take a look at those, and we'll come back and join some in-studio guests for a discussion.
I like art because it can be really creative.
You get to do anything you want with your art.
Mix different colors and it gets one certain color.
I think it actually improves your intelligence and how you're thinking and solving problems.
I like incorporating things that I see around into my art.
I can free people's spirits.
Why do you like art?
Well, I think it's important in school because it's just important because people need to free their hands from work and letters.
This class was actually really helped me a lot because before I came into this class, I just thought art was stupid. This is the first art class I've taken all high school. I never really thought I needed it, but then I came into this class and Mr. Mullins really showed me there's actually a lot of technique involved. It's not just a God-given skill. You actually have to work to be good at it.
My goal is to try to get them to learn kind of the basic elements and principles, so kind of the beginnings of how do you put artwork together, get some touching of our history with the different artists, and getting a chance to try a bunch of different materials. So even if they only get one art class while they're here in high school, they've had a chance to try a bunch of different things.
It's really important for the kids to realize that there are other things other than science, social studies, math. There's a whole bunch of subjects that they hear about, but they don't realize that, we may not have art as a special in our school day, but there's other things that they're able to do.
They strengthen their ideas from their mind to their hands, onto the paper. They just bring out their imagination. It comes to life when they see the art.
Well, I wasn't like the other kids. Playing video games and going outside is okay thing, but doing different things is good. And I thought art was a soothing thing to do.
Not every single project or art piece you're going to do is going to work, and you make mistakes always along the way, but you learn to work with them and make a good product overall. So I think it's really good for people to learn that it's good to experiment, it's good to try out different things, because you always learn, okay, well that's not the right way to do something.
We're always teaching history, social studies, math, science. It's impossible to just teach art alone.
Monet painted Impressionism, so he painted stuff that was not detailed. But the cool thing is that the layman who wasn't an artist at all could just step up to that painting and their mind was completing the image. And so you become a part of the process whenever you're looking at art. Your mind is engaging with it.
One way that it's really cool to see what other people are feeling is through their art. A lot of people, words don't do them justice about how they're feeling. You look at their art and you can get to really see how they convey that message on their own.
Last year we did our first art show. We did it as a spaghetti supper and an art show, and it went really, really smoothly. Everybody loved it. It got a couple of ideas from other schools having done art shows, and we decided, this is a great time to bring this back to our community.
It definitely instills a lot of pride, whether individual or, collectively as the school. The kids get to show off their talents, their creativity, There's something really great about when you put a student's work up and they're like, hey, that's mine. And, you know, just that could have made their day.
And it just gives the community a chance to see what we as teachers do for their students, and it gives them a chance to meet us and be able to do something safe and exciting.
It's a walking school, it's a walking district, so while the students may live together, they don't necessarily after school go out and play together, so now they get a chance to see each other outside of an academic setting, but at school. So the school becomes more of a community center, if you will, and it brings a lot of families together.
I think it opens conversation. Sometimes it's just about how it's made. You know, the kids go, that's cool, what class is that done in? Or, you know, sometimes they go, oh, that's mine. I love it when the kids who are like walking with other students like are talking about their, and they stop and point out their piece and say, I did that with my class.
They're so proud to see their work in the hallway. They'll show other students, or even if it's not theirs, I'll see other students walk down and they start talking about the artwork that they see.
They not only see their own art, but they see their friends' art, which it may not necessarily be art that they're looking at. They're looking at their friend's imagination and how they might perceive the same exact, they might see the same exact assignment or have the same assignment, but they all have different answers to it and different artwork to it. And it's a really beautiful thing when you see it like that.
Right now, with all of the testing and everything and the pressures that are on kids, sometimes they just need to be creative, to let loose. You know, being able to just paint or to draw, it makes for a more well-rounded education.
And these are things that not only are helpful for them purely enjoyment-wise with art, but it's like even going out into the world and getting a job. Like, companies want people who can problem solve creatively. And the best way to learn that is to work creatively.
I think it's definitely wicked important that we have art classes, especially for those kids who aren't set on mathematics or, you know, history.
I get through the rest of the day fine, but art class is my favorite.
I'm very happy to be joined in studio by my first two guests, Paula Fahey, longtime art teacher at Chicopee Comprehensive High School, and one of her students, Lauren Bailey. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me today. So Paula, let me start with you.
Sure.
That was a great clip showing you know, the different possibilities of art across the district, or at least in 3 different schools. Talk to us a little bit as a veteran art teacher about your perspective in terms of what the arts bring to students as part of their overall educational experience.
They bring a life experience where it's about growth, it's about creativity, it's about their originality, it's about validating who they are as a person, as that young person. It's critical in terms of the decisions they make for the creative process that they're involved in. And the process is really more important than the product, because if we're training kids to be successful in the 21st century, we want them to be going through the process and finding out what they can do that's new with that process, not just every turkey's going to look alike. This turkey's going to look pink with blue feathers and pink and white feathers and coral eyes, and you know, and trying to take that and really expanding on it and using that creative problem solving so that they can go into the 21st century with those skills and those kinds of cognitive abilities. You know, I mean, the arts are in everything. They reach across the spectrum. Every subject matter is integrated into the arts. Every community-based projects that we do here are into the arts. The Christmas cards for veterans, Hoyok Soldiers Home, the posters for the SALT project that Ms. Crescione does with the senior citizens and the police. It just reaches out into the community and brings so much enrichment to that community. This year here at Comp, we have my student Lauren Bailey, who is voted Student of the Year, has received a $500 scholarship along with another student that we have, Ms. McCollum, and it is through an organization called HALOS, which is an organization that looks for lost or missing children. And that all came from a former student that we had here, Brianna Coloco, who, as you know, disappeared. And the agency contacted us and said, we have 2 $500 scholarships that we would love to come out and bring and give to your most deserving art students. And a lot of times art students aren't really considered. You know, when it comes to scholarships, everything is academic. So this is a beautiful way to acknowledge her memory, Bree's memory, and give these kids a head start as they're leaving the high school experience and moving on to college.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Lauren, question for you. Was art something that you were always interested in as a young child? Did it come to you as you got into public school, that you were exposed to it more? Tell us a little bit about your own experience.
Actually, no. As I was growing up, I didn't do art much at all. I did different forms of art. I did theater, but not necessarily like painting and drawing. And then I ended up getting into late middle school and high school, and I got into makeup. And I think makeup is an art in itself. It's a form of art. But then I started doing the beauty makeup, and then around Halloween, I started working with paints and different prosthetics and like sculpting, and then realizing that I can create myself into these different creatures and stuff like that, and paint myself to look totally different than what I actually do. And so no, because when I was young, I wasn't very good at. I'm still not very good at drawing on like flat canvases, but on 3D and working with 3D stuff, I'm very good with like molding and sculpting, and just working with the structure of the face and stuff like that. So no, I wasn't as I was young, but I very much grew into it from the makeup industry.
And what would you like to do with this, the skills that you've learned in the future, in your future?
I'd like to go into movies. I think theater is such a cool form of art, and I love film. I just really like theater, and even just not even being on stage, but even being behind the scenes, I love the production of it. So probably going into theater in like a bigger city.
Do you find as a student and as a teacher that the students that are taking art classes are not so much worried about failure or whether they're meeting a particular standard like they would be in a typical academic class, because there are so many different ways to see the world or see an object, and to know that you can have your own perception of something and it can be as good as someone else's even though it's different must be a powerful experience for many students.
It very much is so, and they take that confidence that they get from that experience, and it spills over into other subjects, their math, their English. I'll have kids that'll come in as freshmen and they're so insecure, and they're talented. They might not be blissfully talented, but they can do some pretty good stuff, and yet they still are very insecure about their arts, And as they move through the course, it's funny to see how they develop and how they find their voice, and they eventually start to speak out in the classroom, start to engage in critiques, and really get their confidence level up to. And I think that's such an important part of the art classroom, is that human interaction, that ability to form relationships, to start conversations with people that you probably would never talk to in a school, in a high school setting. And it crosses those lines, and it's such a beautiful thing to see.
And yet, in a way, art tends to be kind of a singular activity, right? It's that one person with whatever modalities they're using, whatever instruments of art they're using. Not so much like a sport where you rely on other people to come together to make you either successful or not successful.
And the brain studies that they have done with people in the arts, it's called getting into the flow. And your actual chemistry in your brain will change and become totally heightened, hyper heightened, as an artist gets into that flow. And nothing else exists except what they're doing at that moment. And it's like being in the moment. It's actually being fully present in the moment in that creative flow. And if you think about it, writers are like that. Great actors are like that on stage. They're in that moment. There's nothing else, and they are that person. They become that character, So that all spills over into it too. It's a fascinating subject. I love it. I've loved it all my life. It's always exciting. It's always new, and there's always new problems and new dramas in the art room, and it just keeps it really interesting for everyone.
I can certainly tell by talking to you that you have a great passion for it. So even though you're a veteran, don't retire anytime soon, because there are more Laurens that need your expertise and your passion. I want to thank both of you for coming in studio today. You were great, and we're going to segue to our next our video now, and that's the dramatic arts, which are a little bit different than visual art, in that even though it's individual talents, it has to come together with an ensemble. So let's take a look at our next clip.
There's all these kids out there that love to just be characters. They love to have fun. They love to express themselves in many different ways, and Drama Club is a really great way for them to find a different kind of family.
I I think performing, whether it's like in a concert or on the football field or on the like drama club stage, like I just get a feeling like no other.
I've always loved acting and music, and just being able to like put everything into like a show and bring something to life for an audience to see is just remarkable.
In the fall, end of September, early October, the kids audition. We set up auditions in the auditorium. We have about 3 or 4 days for auditions, and they come and they read some parts for a show. They sing a couple songs if they need to, and we base our casting off of that one 15-minute audition.
Pretty much everybody gets a part. There are some who might get the leads, some who get ensemble roles. We put students backstage, you know, taking care of sets and props and helping with painting and building. We put students behind the lights and the soundboard.
It let me show it helped find who I was as a person, because I was surrounded by people who weren't judgmental, who would always be there for you. So it was like they were my family right when I stepped foot in there.
Once you step into that theater, onto that stage, the wall of judgment just comes crashing down.
I think that's part of the appeal. Like you're a little bit crazy, you're a little bit emotional. That's great. We need that. We want that.
I mean, I think most of it is learning about yourself, and I don't think there's enough of that because we're too focused on testing and like we have to pass this test and the MCAS and all that stuff. Like they gear a lot of classes towards that, and that's become more important than life skills.
Being in drama club has helped me manage my time really well, because we have like rehearsal after school or at night, so you have to make sure to get your homework done or other things to keep everything else in line.
They learn how to work with other people that they might not get along with. They learn how to analyze character traits, analyze stories, themes.
Dialogue, music, movement, when to come on stage, when to leave stage.
Interpretation of ideas. They learn to problem solve and how am I going to present this.
And being able to focus on listening.
Confidence.
Broadening like my culture and like things I know.
Gives you good public speaking skills.
The crew builds the set, so they're learning measurement and math and engineering.
They learn how to dance if they don't know how to dance. They learn how to sing if they don't know how to sing.
Self-esteem.
They learn how to be a part of something that's really special and to really commit to something. They learn responsibility.
Grammar and pronunciation.
They're painting, they're designing.
And it can like help you memorize, because when you have to memorize all those lines, for all you know, it can help you memorize like different equations and stuff in math.
Because if you learn memorizing tactics early on in public school, you'll be able to apply that to when like you're in college, for say, or when you're at work.
He told me you had an opening for a princess. Any princess, and I figured the early bird. Right? Like, anyway, here I am.
There aren't too many activities other than really a sporting event that are really drawing the community into the school. Sporting events, they're going to draw those parents and family members and friends of the students who are involved. But theatrical productions brought in a lot of community that had no ties to any students or teachers in the school at all.
Like for our drama club productions, we've had sold out nights where the auditorium is full with people out of the building.
It's a really great way for the community to come and see what their public schools are doing. It's a great way for the community to see how involved their kids are with a big project, something like this. It's a great way for the community to see how hard teachers work and how many volunteers we have and how much time is spent when teachers are not actually teaching by their contract, but actually doing something extra.
And to see the impact that words can have on an audience, it's really a pleasure and a privilege to be able to do that.
You get to express yourself any way that you want to, and you get a sense of just serenity and peace and just happiness.
A lot of classes are very stressful, and dramatic arts, like visual arts, all that stuff is kind of a release for kids. It makes them not stressed. It's like a class to look forward to, or an after-school activity to look forward to afterwards.
I love all of the arts. They're all like, they all come together into this one big thing, and that's, art is basically life, you know? It's an important part of life, and some people take that for granted.
Maybe because they're not good at sports, or maybe they're not good at academic type things like decathlons, but they're good at being part of a group, and they're good at make-believe and having fun and being able to share that with people on stage. And it's really good to give them an outlet from the everyday life.
Students have come back and told us that being a part of this family, of this group, being accepted regardless of their socioeconomic situation, regardless of their gender identity, regardless of any particular quirk, that their acceptance here has been life-saving to them and has really given them something positive to look forward to.
Academics are important, but I've also heard it said, if we don't have the things in our lives, the music, the theater, the art, the dance, the sports even, what is it all for?
Now I'm joined in studio by my next set of guests. Mr. Maynard, longtime director of plays throughout the city, starting way back with me 15 or 16 years ago at Fairview Veterans Memorial Middle School, and your wife Janet, who was at that point my music and drama teacher. So we've had a long, long history of working together. And with him is Carrie Hersom, a fifth grader from Barry School, who was starred in this year's play, right, Carrie?
Yep.
So, Jim, let me start with you. One of the things that I picked up from that segment was the idea that most kids that are in dramatic arts, and I'm sure in visual arts and in music as well, have a feeling that it really helps them academically through everything that they do during the school day, that it's not singular in terms of what it gives to them in terms of just the satisfaction of performing, but it actually helps their creative mind, their problem-solving mind, self-discipline, work ethic. How would you respond to that?
Well, everything that Jan and I have done over the years and how we've seen these kids evolve, it helps them in every aspect. Also education, life skills, and everything else. The biggest thing that we've seen is self-esteem, which many kids are lacking. And one of the greatest examples is for Barry. They wanted us to perform at the Thunderbirds hockey game. So now when all the kids are lined up before they're ready to go out onto the ice, they look like they were all going to start crying. Okay, we didn't tell them how many people were out there because they had the Stanley Cup there this year and they were giving away T-shirts. So there was more than usual. They went out, they performed their song, and when they're walking off the ice, smiles from ear to ear, and their self-esteem is just up on the roof somewhere. And then after we told them there was about 5,000 people there, that was a whole nother story. But there are so many aspects of drama and performance, and the actual, of course, one of the big perks, which if you've never been there, you can't experience, and Carrie can probably attest to it. When you finish a performance or you finish singing a song, the applause and the appreciation of the audience, if you're not up on that stage, you don't know what it feels like, and you never will.
Right.
It's a feeling that you just can't describe.
So Carrie, tell me a little bit about your experience. You told me a little bit earlier before we came on the air that this was your first acting.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
To me, I thought that I wasn't going to be the main character, but after the play was over, I was so happy that I made it through, successfully, and yeah.
What was it that caused you to get involved? I mean, never having acted or sung before, what was it about this play, or being a fifth grader, or being at Barry? What was it that said, you know what, I'm going to try to do this?
I saw Shrek last year, and I saw how amazing they were, and I was like, well, I should try this.
So they were the people that marketed it to you,
Yeah.
that sold it to you, the previous cast, right? So is this something that you think that you'll take with you and participate as you go into middle school and high school?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to see you on stage many more times. That's great. Jim, this was kind of a new endeavor the last couple of years because you and Janet had prior to that pretty much worked at the middle school level with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. What's been the biggest change for you in terms of adapting to younger students?
Probably explanation, being a little bit more specific than you had to be with middle school. But as far as our team, between Janet and I and the Sutherlands and our dance team with Shiloh and Caitlin, we did not, just because we went to elementary school, we did not lower the bar at all. We're doing a junior production, and what a lot of people don't understand is the difference between the junior and the major production you see on Broadway is not very much. They shorten the songs, they take out a little bit of dialogue, but everything that these kids did in Little Mermaid on stage is done on Broadway, plus. But none of it is cut. And if we felt that if you challenge them, they go for it. They will reach for the stars, and they do. They come through, they push.
One of the things that really blew me away the last 2 years was just the fact that students at this young age could be so professional on stage. I mean, the stage presence, the quality of the acting and the singing was far beyond what I would have imagined. And as a superintendent who loves the arts, I say, what a great feeder program to the middle schools and then hopefully eventually the high schools, that we do give kids in grades 4 and 5 a chance to get involved in the theater.
Yeah.
And lastly, Carrie, what would you say to other students of your age in terms of if they were thinking about doing it, but they were really nervous about being on stage and maybe singing and and acting in front of people? What would you say to them to try to change their minds and give it a try?
I would say that if you keep your mind to it and you rehearse like every night, you can do it. And your friends can support you too, because mine did, and that helped me too.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, I want to thank both of you for coming in. You've added a lot to this particular segment of the show, so thanks so much.
You're welcome.
One of the things is that Seussical the Musical or Once Upon a Mattress or Little Mermaid wouldn't be possible without the music. And that's going to lead us into our next video that talks about music education in the Chicopee Public Schools. So let's take a look at that clip now.
Music is my life. I listen to it every day. I play my instrument every day in band. It's pretty big in my life. Music is to me a way to be creative and express yourself however you want to.
Music to me is art. It defines who people are and what they create.
Music is to me something that is undescribable yet so describable. It's very emotional, very thorough, very heart-touching, very... I don't know. It's everything to me, really.
It's probably that music is so important to me because it's so hands-on and it's using every single part of your brain, and it's a lot of fun to me. And everybody in the band class in 8th grade we're such a big family, and it's just so much fun.
There's a lot of science involved into it. It improves your memory, shows, skill. I just wanted to be part of something bigger than myself, so.
It's a different way to think because every other subject teaches you to think logically and to be precise. Music, it's the complete opposite. You can be creative, you can flow with the music, you can dance to it.
I feel like music really broadens your mind, makes you understand things differently, more thoroughly. You can understand situations much differently than a person who hasn't been exposed to music. You're very open to different things, different styles, different people, different cultures. It's very just eye-opening.
With music, it gives you muscle memory and helps your brain memorize what you're doing. a lot of hand-eye coordination, things like that. It helps a lot.
Doing the music program and everything, students gain a lot of different skills that they wouldn't gain from other classes.
I honestly think that band and the arts and all that are very big on a student if they want to create, like, express their creativity. So I think it's very, very important.
It kind of gives you like a little break from all the hardest subjects, and it kind of lets you think more clearly afterwards, because you just kind of cleared your mind and you just kind of had a little break and had a little fun with it.
It influences children to try new things and to see if they actually want to do it more.
Banding Together is a district-wide concert featuring students from 5th grade all the way through 12th grade. We started it in order to have some continuity between the different schools. So elementary schools would have an idea of what it's like to be in middle school. Middle schoolers would have an idea of what it's like to be in high school as well.
Having like a public show like this, it gives the students something to work for. It gives something for the parents to see how good their kids are doing in their elective. It's a very good idea to have.
When I was a 5th grader, I was amazed to see all these different performers come up from all these different grade levels and like perform, and then at the end we all performed together, and I felt like a very soulful connection to everyone. Like, it was an amazing experience, and here I am now, my senior year of high school, and I feel like, I hope it still works. Like, at least for the way it touched me, I really hope it touched the other kids, especially the 5th graders, so they keep continuing doing this with us.
It originated a few years back. I'm the only original band member from the first Banding Together, and we were trying to brainstorm and think of ideas because sometimes there's a drop-off from one level of school to the next, from elementary to middle to high school, because kids maybe don't know what's available there, or it's, sometimes overwhelming for them to go to a new school. So to have some sort of continuity between knowing other band students and getting used to that.
It gets a lot of people from Chicopee, other than just band parents, to come and watch and become part of this culture that we create, this very emotional connection that we have with the music and with the conductors, and it just creates a nice environment where everyone just feels as one, and we just feel connected and very emotional and I can't even explain it, it's just so nice.
In life, you don't just have to be like precise and be logical. You also have to have an open mind and be able to think outside the box, which music and art and all that kind of stuff, it gives you the opportunity to learn that.
There's plenty of people who find like solitude and another home and family with a band situation.
You meet a lot of friends in band, and I think it helped me make friends.
I can say that from being in band and in the music program, I have definitely been able to apply a lot of what I've learned into regular classes, and it's helped me a lot.
I'm joined in studio now by my final two guests, Allison Ingraham, music teacher and band director at Chicopee High School, and she's also brought with her today Gregory O'Connor, who we saw in that clip for a short time. And Greg, your claim to fame is that you've been a member of Banding Together since its very inception 8 years ago, I guess, right?
Yep.
So let me start with you, Allison. As a second year at the high school level, what can you tell me about the music program and in particular the band program at the high school level and how you found it?
I'm very happy with where we are now. I think since I started and I've watched the program for the past few years, I think we're in a really great position, and I'm thrilled to go to work every day and work with all of my students, and they work so hard, and they really have, I put my feeling of success on them because they challenge me to be a better teacher every day, and I'm going to continue to be the best I can be for them. And so I see a bright future ahead, so I'm very excited. I'll be sad to see some seniors leave at the end of this year, but I know I've already have a really good relationship with a lot of middle schoolers who are coming up, so I'm very excited.
Great, great. Greg, one of the things that we saw not only in the last clip on Banding Together, but the visual arts clip as well as the dramatic arts clip, was the feeling among students that, this is something that makes them a whole person, that kind of fills out their academic experience. What's it been like for you going back to 5th grade, when I assume that you were first learning how to play a couple of notes, to now senior year, where I consider you to be an accomplished musician. What's that time frame been like for you?
Well, back in 5th grade, especially like going to banding together, that's your really big performance that you worked hard, you've been practicing. It's a lot of fun along the way, but a lot of nerves when you're getting up on stage. And when you're working through middle school and early high school and still continuing, and when you're on the stage, you get nerves, and eventually it does get more better, and it's more of a teaching, way of teaching other students what to do when you're in the higher grades, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and inspiring other younger students to pursue music, because it really is a way of expressing yourself and expressing your just emotions and other ways of kind of dealing with things, stress. Like if you're stressed for a test or whatever, go practice for an hour, and you just have a really great time, and it's a community and a good place to be.
In the clip there, we saw Mike Haas, the band director at Bellamy, and like you, his claim to fame also, one of them, is that he's the band director left in the city who actually participated in that original banding together 8 years ago. Did you feel that as a 5th grader and then maybe as an 8th grader, that the banding together where you were able to see what that next group of older students were capable of doing, did that provide you with the impetus and the motivation to continue or to work harder at your craft by seeing what was possible as you got older?
Definitely, especially I remember in middle school, we'd have Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp, and you always looked up to the older kids, and you think about, wow, I really want to be in that school, I want to play in that band. You strive to be the best musician you can and compete with the high schoolers maybe at the middle school age.
And Paula, as a high school band director, it's got to be exciting for you when you see that final performance where you've got, it seems like 1,000 kids on stage. I don't know exactly how many were up there this year, but it certainly fills out the stage. But for someone who's working with high school students, to see kids as young as 5th grade up there playing hard, mixing in with the older kids, it's got to be a great portender of the future for what you can expect when they get to you.
And that's exactly what I think me and the other band directors in the city were trying to capitalize on, is taking that enthusiasm that we see from all of the students and reminding them that this is something an opportunity that's available for them for the next X amount of years. I think we had about 200 students on stage and about 50 5th graders, which was great, because they're the ones who I think this concert started for, and it's grown, and it's grown since then. But trying to get to these younger students who probably I think are terrified, which I taught elementary for 2 years, so I always remember my students being a little nervous. But it's such a great opportunity for them to meet and interact with older students who may someday be their classmates at the middle school or the high school level. And I encourage my students, and they all step up to the plate, to really reach out to the younger students, 5th grade all the way to 8th grade, and be ambassadors for Chicopee High School and for the music program in general.
That's super,
Yeah.
super. And finally, Greg, for you, now that you're graduating, what part of this experience will you take with you?
I plan to go to Westfield State University and study music there, be a music major. So it's all had this impact to lead up to now and inspire me to continue with it after secondary.
And what would you like to do? Let's say you graduate with a degree in music. Do you have an idea? You're going to come back to Chicopee and help teach?
I would love to do that.
It's going to come after my job in a few
If I'm still superintendent, call me and I'll make sure we find a place for you. Listen, I want to thank both of you for coming in today. You've done a great job adding to our video clip and talking about music. And I want to thank all of our guests in studio today. And I hope for the viewing audience that it's given you a deeper understanding of why I feel so strongly that arts education needs to be a part of the major foundation in terms of what we build for students that go to school in Chicopee. It does create well-rounded students, and again, whether they decide to go on in life as Greg is, going on to college to study music, or whether it's simply a skill that they take with them into the rest of their lives for their own personal enjoyment and the enjoyment of their families, it really is an important of everything we do. So again, that's going to be a wrap for Bell to Bell for this year. Seeing that this is the last episode of the year, let me wish all that are watching a very happy, healthy, and safe summer vacation. And just a reminder to please tune in October when we'll have for you our next episode of Bell to Bell. Thanks for watching all year, everybody.